I think that the first thing to talk about is the networks of organizations that we have in North America for the presenters and festivals that work together in order to bring groups, in order to make it cost effective for artists to come to North America. The Canadians, and I'll let you, Chris, talk about the Canadians, have a very good circuit, and then there are many North American summer festival presenters that work together to make tours happen for artists that we would like to present through the course of the summer. My program takes place primarily in the months of July and August. My concerts are all free, so I can take chances and risks on artists that are emerging because I don't need to leverage attendance by ticket sales. So my events typically draw around 3,000 people, sometimes as many as 7,500, but we are most comfortable around 3,000 to 3,500 for the main stage that I program. I have a second smaller stage that is an amphitheater that accommodates around 400 people in the amphitheater, and I've got an overflow. I can accommodate about 1,500 people that aren't actually sitting in front of that stage. Artistic excellence is the primary factor that we take into consideration when we are programming. But our goal is to present the performing arts traditions, I think, as you heard in the introduction, of the many different communities that make up our city. Because Los Angeles has a very large Central American population, this has been a very important conference for us to attend, I think, because it's much easier to evaluate the type of music and the type of work that an artist is making when you see them perform live, as opposed to even on YouTube, which is probably the second most valuable tool that I think many of us have at this point in time for evaluating the quality of artistic work. You know, as we all know, recordings can be overproduced or underproduced, and they don't necessarily represent the work that is being made by the artists on stage. Networks are important, and there are a lot of details and important things that artists sometimes don't know about when coming to the United States. So management, if possible, on the American or the North American side, and agency representation is very important. For example, in California, if you are not based in California, we are required to withhold 7% of the fee that we are paying you as an artist. There are ways around that if you file the right papers and you can claim that you have expenses in order to get to our event, and you can prove that you are not making very much profit on our performance. But if you do not live in California, then we have to withhold that 7%. Additionally, the federal government requires that we withhold 30% of the fee that we are paying you. Now there are also forms and a central and there's a process that you can undergo, and you can have what's known as a central withholding agency, and that form and that agreement allows you to again claim that you have expenses against the profits of your tour, and so we can sometimes greatly diminish or completely disregard that 30%, but you've got to know what you're doing, you've got to have the right people advising you. Then the last major hurdle for coming to the United States are visas, which is sometimes very easy, and it's become a whole lot better in the last couple of years, but there are times when it can be very, very difficult, and to the point where it's daunting. So it's important that artists understand the processes necessary just in sort of the logistics of getting to the United States. I think there's a whole lot more to be said, but I'll let that go for now. Don't be discouraged by these things. There's a lot of great opportunities in North America, and we hope that we'll have a lot of opportunity to have and host Central American. I'd like to go back to the need for appropriate management, agency representation, and possible label affiliation as an important part of being known and having your work being represented, and so that people like ourselves know. Typically an agent has a roster, some very large rosters and some much smaller rosters, but most of us know who the agencies are that have work that are appropriate for us. So I think that having the right manager is very important, because that person is going to be able to take your work. If you cannot attend the Walmex conference in the fall in Europe, if you can't attend Arts Presenters Conference in January, if you can't attend whichever conference, that agency representative or that manager can be the person that represents you at those places. It has to be somebody that has a big mouth, somebody that is willing to talk about you all of the time, and they have to have the right materials in order to present your work in the proper way. So it's a collaborative relationship, and you need to have a good one. I think that Yvonne and Stone Tree Records is probably one of the best examples of a really good manager doing excellent work for his artists. I think that also, it costs a lot of money to come to the United States for showcases. I think that what's really important is that you have very good video on YouTube or on Vimeo for us to be able to take a look at. I would recommend that if you guys want to, you all come together and you make a Central American music conference page on YouTube, where we can go and we can see and review videos of every single one of the artists that we had the opportunity to see here. And that way then my experience is extended, and I can talk to my friends about the artists that I saw, and then I can refer them to that page and say, see this group, this group, this group, and this group. These are the artists that I think would be right for us for this particular touring period. And so it means that we don't have to send a lot of different links. It means that all of that information is sort of aggregated into one very easy place. If you decide that you'd like to attend a conference, one of the really great methods for getting your information to people like us are flash drives or CDs, where you can put your music, possibly your tech writer, maybe photos, your one-sheet bio, those kinds of pieces of information, the things that we are going to need in order to be able to make and assess whether you are right for us. So you want to make it, because we're not lazy, we're all very hardworking, but you want to make it as easy as possible for us to access the information so that we can choose you.